want to walk through a couple of different options that you have for making a style tile or a mood board. You can go ahead and download the style tile template, the Photoshop document that comes from Style Tiles, styletile.es. Online, I've got a link to it up in the To You page in order to make your style tile, or you can, even use free services like Canva to make a mood board. The main thing is you want to make sure that you're going to show some of the colors that you want to use, some of the text, the fonts that you want to use. Get a sense of what the feeling is that you want for your site. And you do want to make sure that you've listed things like the font and like the textile. The font and the color. Somewhere in your document so that when you have this mood board, it is useful for you and you can find those things. So I'm going to try to quickly walk through making your style tile in using the Photoshop, but also using something free like Canva. You can use whatever you happen to be comfortable with or have used before in the past, but the main thing is you want to get that sense of kind of what you want your site to look like. And you can bring in images into either something like Canva or into your style tile if there's like a look and feel you're going for, or even example sites that you want to reference. So in this case, I've used Canva. Pro tip, if you sign up for a Canva account with your simmons.edu address, you can sign up for an educator's account, and that allows you to get a little bit more for free. So you might have used Canva before with like your Gmail or your work email, but if you don't have access to Canva Pro, you might have a little bit more you can use. You'll notice I've got a few extra features, and that's because I've got an educator's account. So I just went in and searched mood board, and it popped up mood board photo collage. So I clicked on that, said yes, please, thank you. And there's so many you can choose from. So you can find something to start off with that's starting to kind of look like what you're interested in having your site look like, and then you're going to edit it. So I've gone ahead and started one. It's my homepage mood board here. And I've started pulling things in. So I went in and it already had this little strip, which was handy for my colors. And in fact, one of my colors, there we go. I was editing and changed it. And then I started pulling in some images that matched more the look and feel I was going for. I'm thinking like kind of clean. I'm thinking and it's kind of natural looking. And so I started going through and I went into Elements. And in Elements, you can go ahead. So on the side, you'll see you got text. So I added in a header and added some body text and I edited them. Now, when I added in my body text, I decided to change the font. And I'm using this font. You've got lots of different fonts you can choose from. And as you kind of scroll through, you get them. And as you can see, these ones here, I get this for free. I'm not a pro user. That's just because I have an education.edu address that I signed up with. So as you can see, I can get a few of them for free. So when I was going through, I was trying out different things. And I was like, no, I don't really like that. So let's see. No, definitely not for body text. I ended up liking this one, Collectif. So one of the things that I want to make sure that I note somewhere is that I have used this particular font, because later on when I come to actually setting my font on my website, I want to be able to maybe look and see if I can find this font or something like it inside maybe Adobe fonts or Google fonts. And let's see, for my header, I used the same font. And Canva's pretty easy to use. It's relatively user-friendly. Now, the other thing that I might want to do is note these colors. So when I wanted to add in some photos, I went into Elements and I clicked on Photos and I searched for certain things. So in this case, I was thinking I wanted a portfolio, because I wanted a portfolio website. And so different things came up, and a lot of them weren't not what I'm looking for at all, but some of them weren't. And so then it was just a matter of dragging and dropping that in there. So when I found something that was kind of close to what I was looking for, something kind of like this, I can just drag it and drop it there. And you see that it changes the interior image. And this is kind of thinking what I would like. Now, maybe there isn't an image here that I like, but I do have a photo that I'm interested in. Well, I can upload images as well. So in my folder here, I have this photo. It's by a guy on Behance called The Wandering Soul, and it's from a series that he took called Winds from Untold Memories Among Mountains. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop it, and it's uploaded. And once it finishes uploading, I can go ahead and I want to replace that photo with this. And so now I've got that in there. And okay, this is something that I'm interested in. Now, I want to note these colors. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on this to bring up my colors. So if I kind of hold over it, it'll tell me what the hex code is for that color. So this is EFA 693. Remember that. That's more body text. Let's make this body text super small. That's the opposite of small. There we go. And I'm going to accidentally control click on a thing. Okay, I got my body text. I'm going to do hash EFA something or other. Let me click back on this guy. 693. Zoom in, Command plus. My text here. And you know what? Let me move this. That may be here. Let's align that. Yeah, that's going to be way easier to move around now. Okay. Make a copy of that. All right. Now, I'm going to copy and paste that. I'm going to put one of these next to each of the colors. And I'm going to put the hex code in. Because when I export this image, I do want to know what those colors are, because I'm not going to want to have to jump into Canva every time I want to use it. So it's a start color, BD 7862. So you want to make sure that this is useful as well as just like looking nice, because this is going to be your kind of guide to your style. 10645F. 10645F. And last but not least, 385C82. 385C82. Okay, awesome. So now when I go to export this, I'm going to have that. All right. Now the other thing is I want to maybe note a couple of adjectives I want to have associated with my site. So what am I kind of mentioned them a little bit already. I'm actually going to group these with my group. All right, so then I can move them as a group over here. So I mentioned a few adjectives that I had in mind already. And if I go into my thing, I muted, calm, serene, natural, and warm. So, because a lot of these are kind of cooler colors, but I don't really want it to be cool. So again, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add a subheading. Muted is a color, is a adjective that I want associated with it. So I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. And I'm going to make it one of the colors that I'm using. I'm going to use green. You know what? No, this guy. Muted. I want calm. What else did I write down? Natural and warm. Maybe I actually want that. Natural and warm to be in a different one. What size are you? 25. There we go. So I can then go ahead and download this, and I'll have this, and that can be my style tile, my mood board. You can go ahead and refine things as you want, make it fit what you're interested in. But again, making sure you've noted the colors you want, some imagery that has the feeling that you're interested in, and some of the adjectives you want associated. Make sure you note things like what font you're using, as well as the colors that you've got, so that when you go to make your site, when you go to enter your CSS, you want to actually know what those colors are going to be. Now, if you open up the style tile that is the Photoshop document, you can go ahead and you'll notice that there's a lot of information in here. I'll just make my layers a bit bigger so you can see. And there's even some grids and guides in there if you want some refinement. So in this case, in the header, we've got, there's a logo highlight. And as you can see here, in my version, I don't have a logo. Your recipe book should have a logo. But in this, I'm thinking about styling my class site. And so, you know, I kind of started off with my light blue. Well, maybe I want to go for more of this kind of look by the time I'm done. Now, you'll also notice that I've chosen this photo as my kind of the feel I'm going for. And it has similar colors to the colors up here, but it's not an exact match. You don't have to have things be an exact match. It's about look and feel. It doesn't need to be absolutely exact. It doesn't need to be gospel, as they say. Now, I've gone ahead and I've changed my project name. I've changed my header band color. I've left the style tile version 1 is in there. Now, the things I went through and I styled, I went and I changed my colors to the colors that I decided on. I used the same ones that I used in the mood board. And you know what was handy was having those hex numbers from the mood board from Canva. I was able to go in and set, when I clicked here, I typed in those hex colors that I had, and then I was able to match the exact colors that I had in Canva. Now, I decided to go a different way in terms of the header, subhead, and text in this version. I just thought I'd mix it up just to make it so it's a little less boring for you to watch. Here I've gone for impact, and I've put, again, what that color is. And here's my subhead, also an impact. But for the heck of it, I've gone and made my body text really different. So instead of this really blocky sans serif, I've gone with a really delicate serif for the main body. But it was a little bit too thin, so I went for a semi-bold. I also went through and set up some buttons just to see what would happen. And I noticed here that there's not a lot of contrast on this particular one, so that's probably going to be something I'm going to need to change. I decided that I didn't really want a lot of textures, so I removed the textures panel. So this is where be creative. Don't just use the template as is. In my case, I went through and I was like, you know what? I don't need textures. I can go ahead and so I've got this guy. Yep, I can hide you, I can hide you, and I can hide you. I don't need any of that. I can actually hide that whole thing. And instead I brought in that image that was kind of an inspiration image for me. And went ahead and I changed the adjectives as well. Now I decided to leave the adjectives and this part in the default colors. And that was mostly because of the fact that I don't need that to be the style that I'm going for. I want that to read as a default, as background, because I want that to be something that you don't necessarily think of as part of the style of the site. But one thing I didn't change was the text in the button. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I've just changed my text tool. I've clicked on that text and highlighted it. And instead of Arial, I'm going to go ahead and make it that impact that I was using. Let's see if that helps at all in terms of the legibility of my text. This is an example of a button. And then again, change my text tool, select all, and change that again to impact. Now, in this case, it's a little bit better, but it's still a bit kind of blocky and hard to read. What happens if I make it bigger and I'm going to go ahead and open up my text and I'm going to track it a bit. Well, now, even though it's still not very high contrast, it's definitely a little bit easier to read. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here, track that twice. Should probably have made, so even just tracking it helps there. Is that 14? Oops. You can undo. Yeah, edit type layer. Oh, where's my, there we are. And in here, I'm gonna go 14. I'm just gonna nudge it back into my move tool. And it's a little bit better, a little bit more readable. And I noted my adjectives here and kind of thinking about what I want my class site to look like. And then when I'm done, I can go ahead and save it. And again, if I wanted to make a JPEG, I can do save a copy. And then go ahead, select JPEG. It'll flatten everything and makes it a copy. And in this case, I'm just going to leave out the word copy, column 244 style tile, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. In this case, that's all fine. And go ahead and hit save. So it's just a matter of if you want to change the color in these guys, for example, just make sure that you've got in the colors area, you're in the right color. So you can either show hide or you can use your show transform control so you know which one you're in. You can just go ahead and paint bucket the colors straight into it. So it's a pretty easy to use, pretty user-friendly interface, but just make sure that you're changing enough of this to make it useful for you as a piece. Making sure, again, that you've got some text styling in, you've noted the font and the hex code, you've got some colors in, you've got some, maybe an example of what you want something to look like. Again, you could get rid of the buttons if that's not important and put another website that you want it to look like in here, and some adjectives that you are interested in. But as she says, be creative. Don't just use the template as is. In all cases, be it no matter what particular piece of software you use, make something that actually gives us the feel of what you want your site to look like.